now. Thank you so very much for coming on board. My name is Derek Wazinski. I am the Vice President of Sales for Zinbit, and this webinar is entitled What Sales Reps Really Think About Your CRM and What You Can Do About It. For those of you that heard about this via LinkedIn or via the Salesforce user groups, we really do appreciate your attendance here. I know there's other CRMs that are in attendance as well, and that's one of the things that we're actually going to go ahead and talk about here. So thanks so much. From the very first, I want to talk a little bit about who's responded to and who's interested in this conversation. You can see here, when I went ahead and sent out the notification for the webinar, I asked a couple of questions. What CRM are you using? And how well do you think your adoption is rated from 1 to 10? 1 being not well adopted and 10 being it's perfect and everybody's using it. So if we take a look here, this is a representation of everyone who signed up for the webinar. This is the percentage basically of the types of CRMs that they're using. And it looks pretty standard to what market share may be right now in the CRM space. What was interesting for me to go ahead and see was this particular number. That was the average, 5.77 of everyone who's attending or who registered for this particular webinar when asked on a scale of 1 to 10, how well was your CRM adopted? So there seems to be, across all CRMs, across all platforms, there's a universal issue when it comes to adoption and when it comes to the capability of salespeople utilizing the solution. So if we take a look at what I'd like to call the truth about CRM, in a May 1st, 2016 article, Howard Berg, from the president of Berkeley Enterprises, stated, a typical member of a field sales force is independent. They don't adopt or accept CRM very easily. What I'd like to do for those in attendance is I'm going to launch a real quick poll, and I'm going to ask, does that quote sound about right? Is that not the way it is? Or don't you know? Do you feel that salespeople don't easily adopt or accept CRM? Couple of seconds here. We've got pretty much most everybody has voted. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the results here. 100%, it looks as if 100% voted that it sounds just about right. Just about right. That's what people think about. That's what salespeople think about CRM. Well, the interesting point here is this was not from an article from May 2016. This is really from an article from May 2001 in CIO magazine. So, and one of the case studies they used to show you just how old the article was that it was a case study for Blockbuster. So really what we're talking about is in the last 15 years, the way salespeople think of CRM hasn't changed. And that's and if you think about the way technology has changed, the way mobility has changed, the way sales and sales organizations have changed, for a salesperson in 2001 to feel the same way about CRM in 2001 as they do now in 2016 is a very interesting predicament. When you take a look at over the last 13 years where they've been keeping records, what they call a CRM failure rate. If you take a look, and this is actually, we compiled this from a number of different sources, but if you take a look over that same period of time, you're running into what executives think is about a 54% failure rate for CRM adoption. And by failure, what they mean is that it's not providing what it was promised. The CRM is not delivering what it was promised when we went ahead and purchased it or when we moved from one to another. And that, I don't know what happened in 2006, 2007, but it's a pretty constant constant failure rate across the last couple of years. And what this, and for someone who's been in sales myself for the last 20 years, what this brings to my attention is about CRM is simply this. No matter what the technology, no matter what the best practices, no matter all of the articles and information that was brought up around how CRM has changed and the technologies around it, sales reps still feel the same way about CRM. So if it's not the technology and if it's not the practices and it's not the way we're implementing it, well, what is the problem? And I think really when it comes down to it, the reason behind all of this is specifically how salespeople and sales organizations look at the CRM, because this really hasn't changed. First of all, this is probably no great knowledge, new knowledge to you. Salespeople do not like administrative work, period. They just don't. They don't like entering information. They all have, quote unquote, their own system, and they don't like writing information down. They want to be out there talking to customers, talking to prospects, and selling. However, they've also felt, and they've begun to feel over the last 15 years or so that CRM is there to micromanage them. It's there to micromanage them and really take a look, laser beam into their sales activity and look at performance metrics. They don't really feel that that's a tool there to go ahead and help them gather and analyze information so they can sell more and it provide them better forecasts or to grow their particular pipeline. Well, let's take a look at what motivates a salesperson, whether it be 2001 or 2016. A salesperson is motivated by what I call the PIPQ: productivity, insights, pipeline, and their quality of life. This really hasn't changed. They want to be productive. They want their time to be spent on productive things, which is going out there and selling things to people. They want to provide their clients insights, and they want to get insights into their clients. They're specifically zoned in on their pipeline, because pipeline is the way they make their money. And quality of life. Nobody wants to work 12, 15 hours a day anymore. They want to spend time with their kids. They want to be able to go to soccer games and so on. Everything else, activity tracking, reporting, adoption, security, performance, even support and service, they're not interested in. And this may be mirroring some conversations you've had internally in your organizations, some issues you've had with adoption. No matter how you construct the CRM interface, no matter how many conversations you have, no matter how many test groups you push new feature sets out to, the issue still remains. They're just not interested in those things. They're interested in these couple of things here. Now, we went ahead and took a look at a study that was done just earlier last year about what salespeople, and I use the word dislike because it's a pretty strong word, but I think it's accurate to the way salespeople do feel about CRM. And when you take a look at it, there's a couple of things that they're talking about. The first of which is it's not really features, it's not really the way the CRM looks. It's not the support, it's definitely not the cost. Sure, integration and flexibility is kind of important, but when it comes down to it, performance, the ability to learn it, and the consumption of time it takes to work with the CRM. 75% of salespeople actually just have an issue using the CRM for these particular reasons. Now, I'm a vendor and I sell software, so I would most likely, if I were that kind of salesperson, say, well, it's just the features. You're not providing enough features. You're not giving the salespeople enough features. You're not giving them mobile. You're not doing this. Features aren't necessarily an issue with salespeople. What it is that, does it take a lot of time to get it done? Can I learn it in 5 minutes? And when I use it, is it working? And this happens, and if these three things aren't happening, this is when you get from the salesperson what I call the I don't wannas. The I don't want to use it, I don't want to learn about it, and I don't want to hear about it. I just want to do my job. So this brings us to what I call the idle paradox, because this is the way salespeople look at CRM. The idle paradox is something I've coined and I brought forward based upon management, based upon the executive sales management, what they think of the CRM. And I say the idle paradox because Billy Idol wrote a song and sang a song years ago where the chorus was more, more, more. And if you take a look at CRM, when we build the CRMs and we build the interfaces, we need more activities, we need more required fields, we need more pipeline opportunities, we just need more, 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 and more. And the problem comes into being when that happens and CRM, the demand for that data exceeds what the salesperson thinks is necessary to move the deal forward, the salesperson is going to start skipping steps. and they're most likely never going to catch up. And this is what we're finding across all CRM platforms, is that the salesperson doesn't feel confident that this helps them sell or it's of any value. The management wants more and more data. They need more and more reports. They want bigger and bolder dashboards. So the salesperson starts skipping steps, and they start not entering opportunities or not editing meetings or not uploading emails, doing the things that they're supposed to do. And they fall behind and they never catch up. And as Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics or Oracle administrators, what happens then is you either have incomplete data or duplicate data or data that isn't really effectively reporting the pipelines and the forecasts and the things that you're trying to drill up to deliver to the management. So what's the result of all of this? Well, we saw a little bit of the result where about almost 60% of all CRMs are rated as a failure for, from the executive class. But even more importantly, for the people that are on this call right now, 92% of you are frustrated with your daily job. You're frustrated, either moderately or extremely frustrated, that you're given this wonderful tool in a CRM and you're developing all these different interfaces and all these different access points, and the end users, the salespeople, just aren't using them. And it's affecting pipelines, it's affecting reports, it's affecting, your own job performance. And yes, it is about adoption. And you're probably here because you're thinking about adoption and there's adoption issues. Obviously, I asked the question about how well your CRM is being adopted. But 1 in 5 sales managers achieve their forecast, which means 4 out of 5 don't. And those are the forecasts that they're putting into the CRMs that you all are developing and working on. And the reason that is because everybody seems to agree that adoption is a good thing, but really nobody knows what adoption really means. Is it just using it? Is it using it effectively? Is it using it so it builds into the sales or to the buying process, as I call it? I believe, and this is after years of working in the industry, I believe adoption is not an end, it's a means. And the actual end you're trying to attain is bigger pipelines, more accurate forecasts, and higher revenues. And as you're building that, the adoption will come. And we're going to talk a little bit, because we're going to break down into some really specific, 4 specific, non-vendor specific things that you can do in order to go ahead and drive this type of adoption, where salespeople and sales management will see that bigger pipelines and more accurate forecasts and higher revenue can come from this. So what's the answer? Well, first off, I'm going to be brutally honest with you here. I sell software for a living. There is no silver bullet. And I don't know if you've ever sat in with a software salesperson, whether it was your CRM salesperson or someone who's selling you an add-on to that software, but there is no one silver bullet. I'm not going to come to you and give you a demo of my product suite and say it's going to solve all of your ills. It really takes a partnership between yourself and the companies and the people that you're working with, not only internally, your organization, but also externally, to go ahead and figure out what the answer is. However, I did say that there are 4 specific things that we believe, and this is through practice and our own practice, that we believe things can be done to increase adoption, which would then mean increase those means so the ends in your CRM are attained, which is the more accurate forecasts, the bigger pipelines, and the greater revenue. But I do want to again effectively say there is no silver bullet, and don't listen to the software person or the solution person that comes in and says we can solve everything. I believe, I've been in this business 20 years. I kind of believe that's where we are because of that. Because people have been making promises for CRM and other types of software for years, and we're all kind of jaded about it. So here are 4 things that we believe work. These are non-vendor specific. The first of which, we call it CRM from your inbox. All data points that interact with a customer that affect a CRM record in 2016 happen in email. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in the next subpoint. But every time as a salesperson, when I communicate to a prospect, when I communicate to a client, when I communicate internally, it's all through email. It has nothing to do with voice. It has nothing to do with physical meetings. It's all of it's in email. So if I'm in my inbox, I should have the capability to go ahead and edit and add opportunities, activities, contacts, task records, all of the whatever objects or records, whatever your CRM vernacular is in whatever product that you're utilizing. I should be able as a salesperson to change my closing percentage, to change my close date, to change my opportunity stage, to edit tasks and events. I know this seems very basic, and I know there's a lot of products out there that claim to do this, but it's really imperative that when I get an email from a client that says, we're looking at pushing this deal from the end of the month in August to the beginning of the month September, that as soon as I get that email, I pop into my opportunity and I change that information. Because once I do that, that affects every roll-up report and every forecast and every dashboard that my organization has created for me. And that gives me more accurate forecasts, which is really one of the means that we're trying to attain here. And it has to work. And what I mean by that is I know a lot of us here, both in this webinar and those of us have registered and those of us that have been working in CRM for years, have had email interfaces that haven't worked or that aren't working all the time or that don't do certain things that we need them to do. And what happens if that doesn't work, if that interface doesn't work and it's rolled out, you know that your end users, you know that your salespeople, your customer success people, they're not going to utilize it. So it really does have to work. So do your homework. And if you're looking at a vendor that is giving you the capability to do this and you're not building it yourself within the functionality, trial it, test it out to multiple parts of your organization. Really give it the once over and the twice over to make sure that it's as robust a solution as possible, that it can be utilized within your environment. Because if you can't do CRM from the inbox, all the rest of this kind of falls to the side. This is why we made this number one. The reason we made it number one is because the average daily time spent in a CRM is about 45 minutes. The average salesperson spends 4 hours in their email, whether it be on their desktop, their mobile device, whatnot, and so forth. And this, I'm sure many of you on the phone would love it if your salespeople spent 45 minutes a day in your CRM. So this is just based on averages here, and Smart Insights did the study just last year. So if they're spending all of that time in email, why build the interface for them to go somewhere else to do simple things like edit opportunities, to go ahead to add activities, to add events? Let them do it where they are, and then it will go ahead and roll up and fulfill your requirements, your data requirements within your CRM. And let's talk a little bit about that email. This particular group has come out and they've just issued a report just in the last few weeks that show that in 2018 the amount of B2B emails that are going to be sent and received per day are going to increase pretty drastically. And this is obviously average. Some of you get more emails, some of you may get less, but if you look at the big jump between 2017 and 2018, and that's only going up. And if you look at on the other side, the received versus sent, the emails that I'm receiving from clients is almost 2-to-1 ratio as the ones that I'm sending out. Now, why is this? Well, it's because when I call people like you on the phone, this is what happens. You don't pick up. And I mean really, seriously, you don't pick up. And just for what I'd like to do is I'd like to launch this, this poll, and you can tell me. Have you used caller ID to get a call from a salesperson to go directly to voicemail? Exactly. And the reason why there's just a yes and a yes there is because we all do it. I think I did it today before this webinar. So if people aren't picking up the phone, and if everything is going on via email, what are we doing with those emails? Well, email, it does really make the sales world go round. If you break down, and I broke down those numbers for the sent and received emails, that means the average salesperson is getting 12 emails an hour, both send and receive. That means one email every 5 minutes. Now, sales teams have an average of a 66% turnover rate. So if those emails are going to me as a salesperson and I decide to leave my job and go somewhere else next week, all of those emails are locked in IT. They have contracts attached to them. They have information that's attached to them about deals that are in process. All of this stuff going on, and because of some corporations' IT security requirements, that's all locked, and it's inaccessible by the direct manager, and you have to go through IT to go ahead and get that type of information. I'll tell you a personal story. When I was over at Xerox as a director of sales for Xerox, a national sales director, when you bought a Xerox copier, you usually did it on a 5-year lease. But we had a corporate email policy that we only kept emails for 2 years. So obviously you could see the issue. If I'm trying to renew a lease for a customer that I signed 4 years ago, and I'm trying to early renew them, I can't go back into my email and pull out the back and forth and the pricing and everything else that we were doing a couple years ago, because my corporate policy, they've automatically deleted it from the IT side. So that was a big issue for us over there at Xerox when we would inherit accounts or inherit opportunities. There was no way to track what was promised, what was said, or even the negotiation that was going on all those years ago when we had the initial contract negotiation. The question is, do I have to save it in the CRM? No, you can save it in the CRM, you can save it in your enterprise content management system, but really the email itself has to be saved somewhere. Because we believe bad communication means a lost customer. And I actually found this equation, which is the equation of the value of a lost customer. I'm not a mathematician, I'm a Detroit public school grad, so I kind of just say this. Regarding email information from a client, I believe it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So while your people are in email, while your salespeople are in their email client, not only should they be able to update opportunities and edit events, but they should be able to take the physical email with the attachment and save it somewhere. Save it somewhere that's easily accessible via a customer name, a customer number, a search. It's just really necessary, especially when you're dealing in the type of consultative selling that you do at the enterprise level. Rule 3, we call it CRM Synchronization. And I created this graphic because it's the Olympic week. So it does look a little bit like the Olympic trademark rings. But really what it is, it's showing that the pipeline really is fed by all of the other information that one would put into the CRM. Contacts, activities, email calendar, all of that information necessary to feed into the pipeline and to give you an accurate pipeline. However, let's take a look, at 15 years ago. 15 years ago, CRMs were something that I had in the office, and I would physically get in my car and drive to the customer location. We'd have a meeting, and then I would drive back and I would go fill out the information in the CRM. Or I would call them on the phone, and then I would fill out information while I was on the phone in the CRM. So it was very easy to create a little solution that I would be able to document that information. Salespeople have been doing it for years. It used to be pieces of paper and pencil. Then it came into then it came into those Franklin Planner books. Then it came into CRMs. However, that was then, and this is now. The issue, these come up right now. We're having a meeting over a webinar interface. 100% of my client meetings, 100% of them take place over GoToMeeting. That's how I'm interacting with them. I interact with customers at Starbucks off of my cell phone. I interact with customers off of my tablet when I'm at the airport. Even when I'm at the beach or when I'm watching my daughter's soccer game, I'm answering emails and working with them. So the issue is, if I'm entering these information, if I'm accessing the client, if I'm talking to the client on all of these disparate systems, how am I synchronizing all of that information into the CRM? Am I making a call at Starbucks and then I have to go on my laptop and enter that call into the CRM? Am I answering an email at the beach and then I have to go back to my car and open my tablet in order to do something to that effect? So the issue is how do I build a system? How do I build something that provides me the total access of synchronization? Well, again, this has kind of been the issue. Building it's kind of like the opposite of the movie Field of Dreams. In the movie Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner, if he built it, they would come. If he built the field, they would come to the field, and by they meant the old baseball players would come to the field. However, the issue is now, if you build it, they're not coming. And that's the whole reason we're here, because of adoption rates. And the reason is science tells us it's in our DNA. You see, it takes about 2 months for a new behavior to become automatic. 66 days, in fact. So what this tells me is, if I'm trying to direct my people, my end users, to go somewhere else to do something, I'm fighting their internal programming. Therefore, I'm having a poor adoption of that process. So if I'm saying, yes, talk to the client on your phone, but then you have to go back into your laptop and put that information into your CRM, I'm fighting that internal programming. I'm making them go somewhere else than where they are right now to do what they need to get done. So rather than build something to come to, what you do is you find out where they are and you attack them via synchronization. So in the aspect of, if I'm on my mobile phone and I have a phone call with a client, I should have something that easily then, at the end of that call, I can update that call history right to my CRM. If I'm answering an email at the beach on my tablet, it would be fantastic if by answering that email within that client, I can then update that information or save that directly into my CRM. And it doesn't matter where I do it, it synchronizes everything else. And we think about this in the term of contacts. If I get a new contact on my cell phone because I meet someone at the PTA meeting that just happens to be the president of XYZ company that I want to sell something to, I put that contact in my cell phone, and in the back-end process, Dynamics or Salesforce or whatever I'm using will automatically pull my Exchange or my Gmail contacts and then pull that information into the CRM automatically for me. Or if I'm in my CRM at my desk and I have to change a calendar event or a meeting from Tuesday to Wednesday, I can do it within my CRM, and then it automatically gets updated in my Gmail or my Outlook calendar. That level of synchronization, by going to where they're working, will effectively increase your adoption 100-fold. Because what you're doing then is you're actually getting the ends, which is you need the information in there, but you're providing them multiple means in order to do it. And again, there's multiple vendors that do this. There's multiple things that you can do in order to go ahead and investigate how to build some of your own apps to do this. Again, I believe there's no silver bullet, and what works best for you may not work best for someone else. So definitely do your homework and your research on how to synchronize. And again, if you're talking to vendors, test it out. Test it out with multiple groups within your organization. So this is the biggest rule we believe, and this is one I'm going to spend a little time on, and it's called real value. It's Rule 4. The modern sales process has really changed from what it used to be. The modern sales process is only 10% solution match, and by that I mean I am a person who has a mouse problem in my house. You sell mouse traps, solution match, right? So I find you on the web and you sell mouse traps. A lot of solutions, a lot of vendors, a lot of integrators will try to help you with that 10%. But that's not the 10% salespeople need help on. Solution match is relatively easy to do. The other 90% where salespeople really need information from the CRM is in the buying process of the customer. How do they buy things? Why do they buy things? What are they looking at? How long have they been looking? What other vendors are they looking at? All of that information that you're trying to get them to put into the CRM to help them move their buying process forward. And I say buying process, and I want you to really take that into account when I'm saying about buying process. It's no longer a selling process. If you hear someone say the word selling process, they haven't been up to date on what's going on in the world of business-to-business sales. For years, we've been concentrating on the selling process, and the selling process no longer works. There's no longer a way for lead generation and then demos and then getting approvals, and all of that stuff has kind of gone out the window, and it's gone out the window because of the internet and information. Our customers are much better informed and smarter than they ever were. And by the time someone goes on to one of your websites to look at whatever widget or mousetrap or that your people are selling, they've already done 90% of what they need to do. So how can you go ahead and help with this, what we call the buying process? Let's take a look. Because in the selling process, you've created within your CRM multiple activity types and measurements and metrics and KPIs in order to measure where you are in the sales process and how effectively. I'm going to turn that on its head a little bit, and we're going to talk a little bit about buying process. So firstly, many of you probably have a metric that says number of calls. How many calls, how many emails, how many hard contacts are you having with a particular customer? And then your organizations then have some type of formula where it's how many calls equals what benefit to the opportunities or what benefit to the pipeline that is. I think and we think that's no longer the case. I really think it is in the buying process, it's the quality of conversations. So if you can come up with a metric or a measurement within your CRM which can measure how the value of the call, the value of the contact between the customer, you'll get a much better insight into what that internal buying process is. Everybody has heard about opportunities. Opportunity is kind of the lifeblood of sales. When one has an opportunity, someone turns that opportunity into a sale. Well, the problem that salespeople are realizing now is opportunities aren't really what they seem to be. What is an opportunity? Is it someone who calls me up and they're interested? Is it a cold lead that I get? Is it a warm lead? You know, how many opportunities am I opening up, and do I have this massive number of opportunities in my pipeline, and how come they're all getting stuck in the pipeline? Well, we truly believe that the reason so many opportunities get stuck in the middle of the sales pipeline is they're not really opportunities. And you have to configure a way where you can measure social selling touches. And what we mean by that is how interactive are your clients, or are the contacts within your CRM, how active are they on your website, in your social media streams, in the webinars that you're providing, all of these, you know, how active are they in their process? What type of searches are being done about you in, you know, with Google Analytics and Yahoo and all these other search engines? That type of information and being able to collect that and bring that into your lead stream will really kind of winnow down these opportunities into real opportunities. And again, we truly believe that the number of opportunities out there in most CRMs right now are phantom opportunities. Somebody wants some information and they're not really in the middle of their buying process. But remember, opportunities is a word that we use in sales for our selling process. And there's no longer a selling process anymore. So we have to really concentrate on how our customers are buying. This is a big one in software sales. Demos. If you can get a demo, you can get a quote, and if you can get a quote out, you can get a proposal, and if you can get a proposal, you can get a sale. Well, the issue with that is anybody who sold anything on, you know, any type of solution within the last 5 years can tell you is demos aren't equating to sales, because everybody demos. and everybody brings people into a go-to meeting and they all do this big demo of the software, and you open up an opportunity and it's a great opportunity, and then the opportunity freezes. And then you're left to wonder, why isn't that information, valuable to the client? Why is this opportunity not turning into a sale? Better measure trials and self-guided tours as opposed to demos. When a client trials something from you, whether it be a copier or a mousetrap or a piece of software, it really shows that they're where they are in their buying process. They just don't want to see it. They want to touch it. They want to feel it. So you should be measuring and recording the trials within activities as opposed to demos. Also, if you can provide self-guided tours of your solution or software or your service or whatever else your organization is selling on your website or in some other type of medium, that's a great way to go ahead and compare and find out exactly what people are interested in and where they are in their process. And I can tell you, as a salesperson, if I could go into my CRM and I could look at a client or a contact and I could see how many trials he's done on my software, that gives me invaluable intelligence for me to go ahead and draft how I want to make a presentation to sell that particular solution to that particular person. So trials and self-guided tours is really a great metric that you should be measuring within. Business meetings versus webinar attendance. Most people will take a meeting with a current vendor because that's just what people do. I'm sure you do it. If you're at you have a Salesforce or Dynamics or Oracle, and your salesperson that you have wants to have a meeting with you, you'll have a virtual meeting with them. You'll set up, you'll have a conversation. That doesn't mean you're going to buy anything more from them. That doesn't mean that you're going to go ahead and look at the new thing that they're selling. It just, it's a courtesy. What you're doing is you're providing them a meeting. But we measure those business meetings in CRMs. And I know from past experience that those business meetings, especially with decision makers, had a lot of weight. Rather than measure business meetings, to be effective in the buying process, measure webinar attendance. Go ahead and measure how many webinars, how much information that I'm providing to my customer base that they're voluntarily coming in and taking a look at. That shows interest. And as any salesperson will tell you, if I can capture your interests, I can go ahead and sell something to you. But again, it's the difference between just taking a meeting and then, like you all did today, taking the time out of your day, 45 minutes, to listen to a webinar for something that's really that's really interesting to you. This is one that we talked about earlier, emails sent and emails received. Most organizations that are saving emails within the CRM are measuring how many are sent, how many are received, and they have some level of formula, how many emails you need to interact with a customer in order to go ahead and turn a prospect into a sale. We find this a little flawed only because emails themselves are just information conduits. They're not a thing. They're a thing like a piece of paper is a thing. But when I was at Xerox, I never measured the number of pieces of paper in a contract that went back and forth between myself and a client. What I did is I measured what they did with that piece of paper and who they put what desk the contract went on and who was involved in the negotiation process. So the same way with emails. Your system should have the capability, or if it doesn't, you should find a way to have the capability to find out how emails are being read, when they're being read, and if they're being forwarded to other people within the organization. Also, when it comes to contacts within your CRM, where are they visiting on your website? What are they interested in? Are they looking at certain things? And then if we're sending them emails with hyperlinks to white papers and to webinars and other things like that, are they clicking the links? When are they clicking the links? And by gathering all of this information, all of this intelligence, I can tell you as a salesperson, it would have been, when I was an individual performer, it would have been incredibly important for me to be able to go ahead and know if I sent you an email, when you read it, if you forwarded it to your boss, where you visited on my website, and if you clicked the link to the white paper that I sent you. Boy, if I could get all of that information just from an email that I sent a prospect, that would tell me whether that's a real opportunity or not, and whether I should be spending time on that particular prospect. This is to deal specifically with contacts. Everybody knows, no matter what CRM you're involved in, what CRM you have, contacts are incredibly important. It's kind of the lifeblood of the CRM. You need to put people in the system. They have the first name, last name, phone number, email address, title. This is the information you need. So CRMs are driven to try to get the end user, the salesperson, to put more contacts into the CRM. And then sometimes they have a little drop down. Is it an influencer, an end user? Is it a decision maker? But single decision makers, and I can tell you from selling multi-million-dollar contracts or selling $50 software to businesses, there's no longer a single point of decision. Every decision made in an organization when they purchase something is either made by committee or it's made with input from a committee or from different users. So there really is a decision tree. There's not a decision maker. So your CRM should be able to go ahead and tell you in a visual representation what your decision tree looks like for this particular client, for this particular opportunity. Who's involved? What part of the process are they involved in? And this is something that can be done specifically by, once you're entering in the contacts and you're entering in that information, you can then go ahead and draft your own decision trees to find out, well, if this person is an IT manager, he obviously reports to the CIO. So that automatically, there's a representation of that real quick tree. It's like a two-line tree, but there it is. Also, what this decision tree allows you to do is it allows you to storyboard a deal. And this is something that's really gaining a lot of traction with inside the sales world, is the ability to map the buying process through storyboarding, where I initially contact a prospect or a prospect contacts me, and then I can basically whiteboard what their internal buying process is going to look like, where the trial is going to go, who's going to be involved in the trial, who's making the decision for contract negotiation, who in legal has to go over the T's and C's or the EULA. All of this has to be done before someone says yes and puts ink to paper or gives you their credit card number to buy something from your people. So your CRM should be able to go ahead and map that out for them. I will tell you this, if you can concentrate on this part and you can make valuable changes to whatever CRM that you have in order to provide this level of intelligence, you are going to help your people and you are going to drive adoption regardless of anything else, because this is what they're hungry for. There's a bestseller that's out right now. It's probably one of the hottest sellers on Amazon in regard to sales and marketing books, and it really delves into the 21st century selling model and how it really is a buying process. So if you're really interested more in a little bit more in this, feel free to go ahead and take a look at this particular author. I don't know him. He doesn't get any. I don't get any kickback from you buying the book or anything else. But it's one of my favorites, and one of the quotes really I like to put down here. There aren't really any fast buyers, but every sales manager you deal with, every executive that you guys deal with, probably wants a fast sales process. So you have to get out of the whole sales process mentality and really think about matching your system and the way you develop your system into recording the buying process of the client. Because if you can record the buying process of the client, then that's something that is repeatable, and you can do it for multiple clients, and your pipelines will not only be bigger, but your pipelines will create more accurate forecasts, and your opportunities won't get stuck in the middle of the pipe. They'll be able to matriculate and mature from a prospect into a deal. So really quickly in review, we talked a little bit about CRM and CRM having historically poor adoption. And what we believe is, again, adoption is a means, not an end. And your end is you want the better forecasts, you want the bigger pipelines, and you want the increased revenue. So everything you do, if you can communicate the changes, whatever changes you're making in the CRM, whether it be the change of a required field, whether it be something else, if you can sell it internally as that it's going to affect the end result, you'll get much greater adoption. Salespeople really don't like data entry. So anything that you can do, whether it be bringing CRM to the inbox, automatically getting client emails and importing them into your CRM or SharePoint or something else, you'll help them document the process as they're in it, and they won't fall behind, and you won't have bad data or duplicate data or all of these other things that make 92% of you frustrated at your daily job. And yes, you have to remember that sometimes management isn't helping because they're asking for more, but yet the end user and the salesperson kind of pushes back on that, says, I need to sell something to somebody. I can't be sitting here for 8 hours a week entering stuff into my CRM. So really, what are the things that you can do? And we'll review the four. It's CRM from your inbox, saving the email, providing some level of synchronization, or as the police say, synchronicity, and then really kind of map out the buying process. Change the vernacular. Stop saying selling, stop saying sales, stop saying helping you with your sales process. You know, the buying process is what all salespeople and management and sales training is now being tuned to. So utilizing that, putting that arrow in your quiver when you talk to salespeople and sales organizations will drastically help you to get buy-in. So before we close out here, a little bit about, I haven't really told you about what we do at ZinBit or that, and this isn't an advertisement for what we do. If you want to take a look at what we do, you're more than welcome to do it. We are what we call a customer IQ platform. Our platform, we believe, provides a solution to solving some of these key problems. But we work with our customers and we work with the organizations that bring us on to help solve these problems. We think we can make it easier. We don't necessarily think that we can fix everything. And that's why we put making it easier to attract, acquire, and retain more customers. So again, we're not a silver bullet, but we're definitely something that could help you move forward in your process. And if you're interested, you can always go to our website and you can schedule either a demonstration or you can take a look at one of our free trials in order to take a look at what we do. And lastly, I have one more poll that I'll share with you. Who knew who Billy Idol was before this presentation? There we go. We have 100%. So again, thank you so very much for your time today. If I'll go ahead, we still have a couple of minutes. Were there any questions, or does anyone have a chat question or anything else? You can feel free to submit it right now, or you can submit it to me via email. You will all be getting an email after this with a quick little survey to fill out to see if this was valuable for you. But we hope it was. And I'll just stay on for the next couple minutes if there's any other questions. But again, thank you so much for attending the webinar. We really do appreciate it. And we hope it's provided you some insight into some value about what salespeople think about CRM and some of the things that you can do about it. Thanks so much.